Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, hauling in the cash. Also, new report says Huntsville best for Space Command. And Steve Marshall and Katherine Robertson are having some difficulties with Republicans.
Oh, my Lord, they're coming after us.
Step on it, Velma. Velma, step on it, Velma. Step on it, Velma.
I am.
They're after us. Step on it, Kathy. Step on it. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and the amazing, one and only Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Hey.
Man, I like those introductions. I like those.
Sometimes they're just a lot better than other times, you know it?
Yeah, they really are, yes.
Hey, you know, I remember people down in Possum Trot used to say madder than an old wet hen. I think that's one of the things they say at Possum Trot. And I have heard...
They say it in Slap Out as well. Yeah.
Slap Out, that big down there. But I have heard from more Republicans who are ready to, well, let's just say, reject Steve Marshall's legal thinking on any number of things. I mean, Steve Marshall is now seeking to replace Tuberville as U.S. Senator from Alabama, and he has Katherine Robertson by his side, who's been his chief counsel for years, and she wants to be AG, and he's backing her. But these two look like Bonnie and Clyde of the legal profession. Not that they've done anything legal. I'm just saying they're screw-ups. And it started, Josh, with redistricting, especially in the Milligan case, where they defied not the Alabama Supreme Court, but the U.S. Supreme Court. And they have lost spectacularly over and over. And Republicans, not Democrats, are mad at Steve Marshall and Katherine Roberts.
Yeah, they are. Well, let me just say, I think it, if it were up to me, I'd say it started back with gambling for the both of them. And so I think a lot of of some of the bad blood has come from that and these kind of backwards decisions and things that they've made in terms of the gambling fight. But certainly the most prolific failure that they've had. And we all said this was going to be a failure. Yeah. Nobody could see how this wasn't going to be a failure when you're, number one, you're defying outright a very, very conservative Supreme Court. Right. I mean, a very, very conservative Supreme Court. And on top of that, defying some very, very conservative federal judges. Yeah. That 3-judge panel right there, 2 of them were appointed by Donald Trump. The third one, that the big liberal on that, was originally appointed to the federal bench by Ronald Reagan. You know, so I mean, it's honestly, man, and when they're pointing out to you that this is some very racist actions that have been taken. And listen, that's not this liberal talking about racist actions. No. That's them saying it's hard to describe this as anything other than racist when you're looking at these maps. And this plan that they had, it was. I don't know. I think a lot of people, when they saw it, did not want to go along with it. Why they ever did, I don't really know, other than they just resisted this defiance of the court. I have no idea why they ever went along with this.
Well, and I have a clue, because these are 2 people who are sadly often wrong, but never understand that it's their fault. You know, they think they know more than everybody else, and they think they're so smart and so clever and so charming that they can get by with this. And Susan, the Republican judges have slapped them harder than a fish in the mouth by a polar bear.
Good heavens, you worked on that one. Yeah, they have. I mean, and my understanding is they're willing to go at it a third time here. I mean, we're 5.25 million in, and that's just the beginning of what is owed in legal fees now. And they're willing to go it again. Now, they've come from, the Republicans were willing to give about 1.5 seats, right? That's fine. Steve Marshall got them giving up 3 seats at this point, what it looks like.
I mean,
so
and
it's not only a monumental failure financially, but also in trying to lock up these districts.
And what she's talking about here is state races, right, Josh?
Yeah.
In the state redistricting, they're going to lose Republican seats because of the same nonsense that just happened.
We're talking about the legislative redistricting that's currently before the courts right now, and so it's going to be as big of a failure as the other. Right now they're in the negotiation phase of this thing, where we're talking about whether or not they're going to lose, probably 2 seats just outright. But it's kind of harder to define than that, because you're not necessarily losing the seats. You're redrawing the districts to give the Democrats a better chance, or black voters a better chance, which will ultimately be Democratic voters. But you're giving them a better chance is how it's termed. And so, but because, we need to divide this thing up for equal representation. But let's not forget in this as well, Edmund LaCour, who was the solicitor in this whole thing, who went over before everybody and made this pitch. And, so I think that he deserves a lot of the credit for these bad decisions as well.
Yeah, and LaCour is very tied in with Leonard Leo and the Federalist Society and these dark money groups that want to disenfranchise voters. That's one of their missions. But Susan, you brought up the money that the state has had to pay in legal fees, $5.25 million. Kyle Whitmire broke that down on what that might mean if we did not have to spend that money foolishly.
Yeah, we could have had another 100 teachers for a year. You could have 115 health inspectors to make sure everything, all of our establishments and whatever are up to code, and 140 new state troopers for that $5.25 million that they've spent on this foolishness.
And Josh, that's taxpayer money. This is not like some money that Katherine Robertson and Steve Marshall found. It's our money, and Republicans are just mad because not only did they lose, but they went about it in such a foolish. We're like in a dream world. They thought they could get Brett Kavanaugh, Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, to change his mind and destroy the Voting Rights Act. I mean, that's a fever dream, right? It wasn't going to happen.
Well, I think probably the biggest embarrassment to me out of all this is the fact of why they did it, of what the goal was here. The goal was, we got 7 congressional districts in this state. 6 of them were already held firmly by Republicans, right? So we're talking about giving up a Democrat, black voters, an opportunity to have one more district that was representative, still wouldn't be fully representative, but somewhat more representative of the overall population of black voters. And it was too much for them to bear. It was too much for them to bear to give those black voters an opportunity to be represented by a candidate of their choosing.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there. They just didn't want to have another black district in Alabama, plain and simple. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Tommy Tuberville is off to a fast start, raising capital for his campaign. In the first day, Susan, they reported that Senator Tuberville raised some $2 million on the first day. Now, Jackie Curtis Cox, who is a prolific fundraiser, is heading up the campaign's fundraising, and she said it's not from PACs. But what it was from a lot of business interests and people that want to have influence. When we look at elections, campaigns, if you have a lot of small donors, that means that there are a lot of people that are very enthusiastic about you running and they want to give $10, $100, whatever. The people who want to influence you are the ones that are out there giving you $50,000, $10,000, $100,000, and there were a lot of those. That made up the bulk of the $2 million. Not that there's anything wrong with that. $2 million is a lot of money. And by the end of the week, they had $3 million. So it's a great fundraising start for Coach Tuberville.
It is. And the reason we can see this early is anything over 15,000 has to be reported as a major contribution.
Right.
And that has to be reported immediately.
Right.
So we're able to go in and see who these people are. A lot of them are big corporations. A lot of them have contracts with the state. And of course, it's in their own interest, you know. But $2 million in the first day, that's a lot of money.
Josh, it's you cannot raise money before May 15th and May 19th
Correct.
This year because it has to be just a year out before the primaries. What I find interesting right now more than anything else is that there's not one single solitary person willing to stand up and challenge Tommy Tuberville. I mean, Alabama has never had a coronation in the modern era. There were only two, and that's back when the state was fledgling, and there really weren't two parties. There was just the dominant big mules and that group,
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll say this as well. When we talk about those numbers and we throw those numbers around so casually, and I said this back during the Biden, just so everybody knows this is not a partisan feeling that I have right here. I said it also during the Joe Biden years when they were talking about raising $1 billion and for Kamala Harris and everybody else. It's such an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, with all of the needs that we have for people, for veterans and homeless people and all these different, this exorbitant amount of money that's just dumped into politics and behind candidates and losing candidates. It's just mind-boggling if you sit around and think about it for a little while. But you're right. The coronation part of this thing is uniquely anti-Alabama in my mind. And I don't think it's going to hold up. As a matter of fact, I would tell pretty much anybody, if you have designs on being the governor of this state, then this is your opportunity because what's going to happen, and because it happens every single time, and I'm not saying anything bad about Tommy Tuberville. I've said plenty in the past, but no, I'm not saying in this particular portion, I'm not saying anything bad. People are going to get tired of Tommy Tuberville. Yeah. They're going to get tired of being told this is going to be your guy. You have no choice. This is going to be your person. He's going to be your governor. Don't worry about it. Don't even pay it any mind. This is Tommy Tuberville is your governor. People are going to revolt against that.
Well,
that's just how it happens.
You spend 10 minutes on Facebook or TikTok, and people are not happy to have only one choice.
No, they're not happy, and they're not happy with the one choice either.
Yeah, but again, there are plenty of people that are behind him.
Certainly.
Because he's got great name ID and all that. But it is so anti-Alabama to have one. It's like, can you imagine Alabama if we only had one football team? if we didn't have Alabama and Auburn. I mean, it wouldn't be as much fun.
Yeah, no, it's so not Alabama, as we keep saying. It's so don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, there was a civil war fought over that.
Yeah.
For Pete's
Well,
sake.
yeah.
You know,
That went real well for us down there.
yeah, no, not so good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that people are going to be okay with this.
And I just don't. It is so un-Alabamian. I would be shocked. You know, we've got a lieutenant governor's race that looks, it might have a little sizzle. I don't know how good the steak is, but it's going to have some sizzle. You know, Wes Allen right now is kind of leading the pack, and you got Rick Pate, Nicole Wadsworth, and Patrick Bishop. Now, I tell you, I think they all have a shot because we never know what happened. But Angie Horn is going to be running Wes Allen's campaign, Josh, and there's a lot of people in this world I don't mind going up against, but I wouldn't go up against Angie without 3 pit bulls, a suit of armor,
and a Rottweiler.
Yeah, and a skunk to throw at her. I mean, because she's tough.
Yeah, no. Yeah, she is. Yeah, and listen, she's tough in elections, and especially in elections like this with a candidate like Allen. And you know, I think that you know, she's proven over time that she can get you elected. Yeah, she can get you elected to office. I mean, you know, she's the person that got Robert Bentley elected.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe that's not top of the sheet at this point, but back when she did it, you know, he was a whole different human being.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and she was able to take him from a nobody, which I would say again should be some sort of inspiration for anyone who might have a design on being the governor of Alabama.
Yeah.
Look at where Robert Bentley started in a race in which 2 other people were for sure going to be the governor.
Yeah.
Well,
For sure.
She took him from 6% to the governor's office.
Well, I mean, and this was interesting what you bring that up. Bradley Byrne was the heir apparent of Bob
He was the
Riley. That was
chosen
his
one.
anointed, candidate. And you know, Bentley beat him like a rented mule.
I know.
And I've mentioned this to people who wanted to run for governor. I just don't think we can do it. I don't think it. Robert Bentley, Mr. Burns, okay? That's the guy who beat Bradley Byrne and Tim James, who had much better name ID.
Absolutely. And then, like, you know, it's still baffling to me that he did it because he was just such a nobody, but Angie made him somebody.
Yes, she did. And Rick Pate, great guy.
Yep.
Nicole Wallace, Dr. Nicole Wallace. I know all 3 of those people, good people, do a good job. I do not know Patrick Bishop, but he's in the mix. It's going to be an interesting race, especially if we don't have a top of the ticket race.
Right, and we're looking at, you were talking about funding earlier. Wes Allen's got about $140,000, which is boosted by the CARE Pack $20,000 contribution. Rick Pate is self-supported. Nicole Wadsworth has, you know, basically small cash donations and in-kind donations, as does Patrick Bishop from in-kind contributions and some reimbursements from his business. So these are the early stages of fundraising that we're seeing.
Well, you know, you got the 4 candidates in. That's healthy for democracy to have the more candidates. The better candidate we get, the better governor, better lieutenant governor we get, I think.
You know, although these are small donations at this point, and a lot of it's self-funded, these are the early stages of fundraising.
Right.
And it's healthy to see that we've got 4 candidates actually be able to talk policy, unlike a race where you only have 1 candidate.
Right.
These guys are going to have to fight it out in the dirt about what they plan to get done.
Right. And look, that's good for democracy. We forgot to mention that Ken McFeeters is running as a Republican for governor. He just hasn't got a lot of name ID yet. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Josh, as you reported this week, a new Government Accountability Office report shows that Huntsville, Alabama was indeed the best place to put Space Command headquarters. However, that did not happen because President Joe Biden was, and I've heard this from the goats, you know, the people that know, he was mad that Tommy Tuberville was withholding promotions for officers in the military, hundreds of them, because Tuberville disagreed with the Department of Defense policy that allowed women to leave states that had anti-abortion laws to go to other states for health care and, if necessary, an abortion. That covered a lot more ground than just abortion. But Tuberville was so incensed about this that he held up those promotions. And he also, didn't make a lot of friends on the Senate Republican side because they were infuriated with withholding the nominations of these officers, and which trickled on down. But Josh, you read this report, you've looked into it in depth. Give us some more insight.
Yeah, I think it's probably important to note that this thing started back many years before that as well, and so it started with the selection, trying to decide where this thing was going to go, and they originally put it out in Colorado, I think in large part due to the abortion issue and because of Alabama's abortion law that was in place at that particular time, and they were afraid to have service members come to this state, and then it became obvious along the way as the Government Accountability Office started studying the financial impacts and the readiness and how it would be affected, that Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal was by far the best choice for this. Look, there's no question that's the case. That's simply the case. Joe Biden, for whatever variety of reasons he had, and I believe it was mainly political. I believe that he was seeking to punish both Trump and Tuberville for some things that he felt were a slight to himself or the officers or the military members or whoever. This is what he did. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was the wrong decision to make. Huntsville was, if you're worried about Space Command and the future of that and serving the United States government and the people the best that you can, the right decision was to put it in Huntsville. And that report showed that over and over. It studied it from so many different angles. And every time they did it, and every time they introduced a new factor into this thing, even after they put it in Colorado and they had all the people there and it became fully operational, it was still more cost feasible to put it in Huntsville, to move the whole operation to Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal. That's how much better of a choice Huntsville was for this, and it should have never been put out in Colorado.
Well, and look, at the time when all this was going down with the officers being denied promotion, that is what I kept hearing out of D.C. If there are more factors, yes, I will agree with there are more factors. Mm-hmm. I'm not blaming Tuberville for what he did. I'm saying Joe Biden did. Now, I don't agree with what he did, but those people that are pro-life, they do agree with it. So there you go. But I don't think you punish the military because of the Department of Defense decision.
It comes down to the military should not be a pawn in a fight.
Yeah.
Okay. This is talking about a $500 million savings by putting it in Huntsville.
Right.
All right. This should be, what's the physical cost going to be? Where is the land? Huntsville's got plenty of land. Where's the land for expansion? They're already busting at the seams in Colorado as it is now. The military should not be a pawn in any fight, whether it's the abortion fight or whether it's Space Command.
Yeah.
It should be, and this is what Republicans have gotten on my nerves about lately, is it's become a fight over politics, not over what is common sense or what should be done.
That is an excellent point all the way around. That the military should not have been a pawn in any of these fights.
Right.
It should not have been a fight over the abortion issue with Tuberville doing what he did. It should not have been a pawn in this fight between Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Tommy Tuberville or anybody else. You make the best decision for those people. They are on both sides of this now. They've upended the lives of people who make far too little money and have far too many problems being bounced from base to base, often in very crappy housing, as we've reported in the past, and not treated properly. And I get so sick of people using active members and veterans as pawns in certain things, and us not honoring the commitments that we have for these people that do the fight. It irritates me to no end. And I don't care what party you're part of. I will consistently call you a jackass for doing it.
Yeah, and I agree because we hear politicians all the time. We support the military. We support the military. We support the military, and then don't support the military.
Exactly.
Huntsville is one of the crown jewels, if not the crown jewel in Alabama, especially in military defense and tech. It is growing exponentially. But the Trump administration's new budget proposal would cut for fiscal 2026, would slash NASA's funding nearly $6 billion, Josh, and threaten jobs in Huntsville like we haven't probably seen since the 80s.
Talking about 15,000 jobs, I think.
Yeah, it's it's terrible. It's a terrible bill for the people of Huntsville. You would like to think that maybe the representative from Huntsville wouldn't vote for it, but God forbid we buck the emperor's clothing. And I don't understand how we're operating anymore. I don't understand how whatever excuse Dale Strong wants to make, okay? Yeah. Whatever excuse he wants to make for voting for this. I don't understand how the voters of this district are so separated from reality that something like this does not lead to a politician being held accountable.
Yeah.
All right. And we can cite a number of things, but that right now is the biggest problem we have in politics. Are voters choosing a party and sticking with those people in that party no matter what they do to them. All right. And that can't continue, or we're going to continue to get screwed over as the little people.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you who is benefiting from this. We're talking about a 25% decrease in NASA funding here, which is probably going to end the space launch system. Guess who can replace the space launch system with his private company called SpaceX?
Yeah.
That's Elon Musk.
Doogie. I like to call him Doogie.
Yeah. So there is somebody to benefit here while the rest of us suffer.
I don't know, man. They may be going back on that little friendship.
They may.
It's the Donald partnership and marriage there has folded on us, I believe.
They weren't as kissy-kissy this week.
Right.
They weren't as kissy-kissy this week.
Yeah.
It's this whole budget thing, and a lot of the major problems here is such a grift by the White House and the Trump family and the Trump administration. And the kickback to a lot of their close allies and people, it's really atrocious.
Well, politics at its finest. Who gets rich and who gets the grift? Or, as my mom used to say, booed, screwed, and tattooed. All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.